subscribe to the channel and enable the bell icon. So my dear students, we are going to see some of the most important questions in the financial awareness section. So please do not miss any of the video. So these financial awareness sections are repeatedly asked in the RBI Grade B examination, SEBI Grade A examination and NABARD Grade A examination. So these are very important topics in the financial awareness section. So there is a total of 4 parts for this section and this is the first part of the video. So students, please watch all the videos in the playlist we have provided and also you can check the I button for the other video links, okay? So watch all those videos and let's start with the first question. Which among the following is the minimum amount that can be borrowed under the liquidity adjustment facility system of the RBI? So students, it is liquidity adjustment facility system of the RBI. So you have to know some important points regarding it. The LIF is the facility offered by the RBI through which banks can borrow money through the repurchase agreement. So it is repurchase agreement like the repo rate and the reverse repo rate. Okay, repo rate and the reverse repo rate mechanisms. All the clients of the RBI are eligible to utilize this quota, whereas the maximum amount that can be borrowed can be any amount of money. The minimum bidding amount is rupees 5 crores under the LIF quota. So which is the answer? So students, it is the minimum amount that can be borrowed under the LIF quota. Please note that, and there is no maximum limit. So for maximum limit, the answer is E, and for the minimum limit, the answer is option C. So students, these explanations are very helpful for you. Please do not skip this video. Watch the video till the end. So coming to the second question. Okay. What is the maximum amount that can be borrowed by banks under the marginal standing facility route? So you have to know what is marginal standing facility route. So options are given here. Let it be there. The marginal standing facility route MSFR was introduced by the Reserve Bank of India in the year 2011 in order to help manage the banks the cash flow mismatch on overnight basis. It was introduced in the year 2011 in order to help banks manage the cash flow mismatch on overnight basis. The banks can approach RBI for loan over MSF facility in an interest rate that will be higher than the repo rate. So is that okay, students? So banks can borrow up to 2% of the total NDTL under this route, whereas the minimum amount is rupees 1 crore. Please note this important points in your rough note or anything like that, because these points are very important. Okay, the minimum amount is rupees 1 crore, because there may be chances that these questions may be asked what's the minimum amount that can be borrowed and all. So our answer to the question is option B, 2% of NDTL. We have explained it here. So hope this video is going to help you a lot in your examination. Coming to the question number 3. If a bank has to borrow funds from RBI for a long term, which among the following will be applicable? So 5 options are given there. Try to find out the answer if you know it, else I will be explaining it. Students, actually bank rate, we have to know what is bank rate. Bank rate is defined as the rate of interest that is applicable to the long term loans extended. Bank rate is defined as the rate of interest that is applicable to the long-term loans extended to the commercial banks by the RBI. Commercial banks by the RBI. Okay, so hope you are noting it down. These loans are generally provided for a period of 19 days to 1 year. So this period also very important. Please kindly note that. The main difference of bank rate and repo rate is that the bank rate is mainly for long-term loans, whereas repo rate is applicable for short-term loans. Bank rate for long-term loans and repo rate is for short-term loans up to 90 period of days. So these points are very important and are going to definitely help you in your RBI grade B, SEBI grade A or NABARD grade A examination. So answer is option C, bank rate. Hope the all the details given in this video, this explanation are very clear to you. Coming to the next question, which among the following is not a qualitative measure of monetary policy undertaken by the RBI in India? So there are total 5 options given. Try to find out the answer. Students, you have to know what are the qualitative measures and the quantitative measures. Qualitative measures are adopted by the RBI. This is adopted by the RBI to control the money supply in the economy. There are various measures for this: margin recruitment, rationing of credit, moral suasion, direction action, etc. Whereas repo rate. So students, please kindly note these sections we have explained till now. These are the quantitative, whereas the reverse repo rate, LIF, MSF, etc. are the quantitative measures adopted by RBI for this purpose. Are the quantitative measures adopted by RBI for this purpose. Hope you are noting it down and are trying to score more marks by having more knowledge through this video. That is what we expect from here. Okay, so the answer is option C, reduction in repo and reverse repo rates. Okay, so that's very clear here. Coming to the next question, the marginal cost of funds based lending rate system came into force in India from. You have to identify the date. So students, this is very important. Please kindly note it down. The MCLR system replaced the old base rate system of the banks with the objective to rationalize the lending rate system in banks. The main aim was to make the rates more sensitive to the changes in the key policy rates of the RBI. So this came into effect from April. Sorry students, it's actually not April 1, 2018. It is April 1, 2016. Okay, so that is regarding it. Then MSLR is the minimum rate of interest below which a bank cannot lend money. So what is MCLR? You have to know what is MCLR. MCLR is the minimum rate of interest below which a bank cannot lend money. So that's only the important details regarding the question. Coming to the next question, the Small Industries Development Bank of India (SIDBI) was set up in 1990 as a subsidiary of which among the following? Very important question students, because this have been repeated in several questions, so please kindly note it. So it was established in the year 1990 by an act of parliament in order to regulate the MSME credit extension in the country. It was created as a wholly owned subsidiary of the IDBI bank, which is our option C. So, but later it was recognized as an independent body. SIDBI is now located in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. So these are the important points related with this question. Established in the year 1990, MSME, IDBI, and later its location. So the answer is already there. Coming to one of the other important questions, students, regarding this government schemes. What is the maximum amount of loan that can be obtained under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana? A very, very important scheme. So you have to know the details regarding it. It was launched in the year 2015 in order to provide free loans to the MSME sector of the country. There were 3 categories of loans extended under the PMMY scheme, which is Shishu scheme. The next one is Kishore scheme, and the other one which is known as Tarun. Okay, so there are 3 PMMY division. So these 3, that is Shishu, Kishore and Tarun, these loans are extended to only borrowers from the non-farm sector. So hope this is very clear to you and you are noting it down. And the next important thing is you have to study is the loan amount, the range of loan amount. Shishu, for the Shishu part, the scheme, it is up to rupees 50,000. And for the Kishore scheme, it is from up to rupees 50,001 to rupees 5 lakhs. So you have to have a clear idea regarding the range of the loan that can be availed. Okay, so they may be asking questions like this. So next comes to Tarun. So Tarun is having 5 lakh 1 to 10 lakh is the limit. So which is the option here? Check out for the option, which is the what is the maximum amount of loan that can be obtained under the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana? So students, it is definitely Tarun, which is 10 lakhs. The maximum value of Tarun is 10 lakhs, which is the maximum amount of loan that can be obtained. So these informations are very important. Okay, coming to the next question, question number 8. The Export Import Bank of India, Exim Bank, has its headquarters in? Very simple question, but I don't know how much of the candidates know it. Hope you all know that. The answer is, students, it's option A, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Its headquarters it is. But the extra points you have to study. The Export Import Bank of India is Exim Bank, which was established in the year 1982 in order to promote the foreign trade of the country. So why this bank is established? To promote the foreign trade of the country. The main objective of this bank is to facilitate exports and imports from the country. It is based in Mumbai, Maharashtra. So these are the only important points regarding it. Coming to the next question, ECGC Limited was first established as Export Risk Insurance Corporation, ERIC, in the year. So students, I can say none of the options are correct. So option E, none of the above, is the right answer. So I will be explaining in detail now. The ERIC, Export Risk Insurance Corporation Limited, was launched in the year 1957. Later it was converted to Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, ECGC, in the year 1964. In the year 1964. It was then converted to Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India in 1983. So these points are very important, the years, because you can see the year is asked here, and it is then converted to Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India in 1983, that I have told you, and it is mainly engaged in providing export credit insurance to the exporters. It is based in Mumbai, Maharashtra. So these are the only important points. Students, please note it down. I have given all the important points, and our answer is explained in the first section, 1957. It is not in the option, so select the E option. Coming to the next one, the priority sector lending targets given by the RBI are applicable for foreign banks having dash branches or more. Students, this is a very important question. I have seen this question somewhere in the mock test or anything like that. Please have a special eye on this, the priority sector banks. Okay. So the priority sector lending targets, PSL, targets are given by the Reserve Bank of India in order to extend credit facility to the sectors which may not get adequate credit facility in the absence of any such special scheme. This scheme is extended to all the domestic commercial banks such as public sector banks and the foreign banks with 20 or more branches. So it's option A, 20 or more branches. Hope you are getting the additional information I am saying, so that you can score full marks for the financial awareness section if you are watching the 4 parts of the MCQ. What is the minimum credit exposure required for the agriculture sector under the priority sector lending guidelines? So students, the bank have to give at least 40% of adjusted net bank credit in order to meet the PSL guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India. Within that quota, bank should give 18% to the agriculture sector, very important students, and 7.5% to the MSME, that is micro, small and medium enterprises, and the 10% to the weaker sections of the society in order to fulfill the PSLL quota. So hope you are getting. The calculation is done on the basis of the percentage of the adjusted net bank credit. So students, I will be explaining it once more. You can write it down. The calculation is done on the basis of the percentage of the adjusted net bank credit or credit equivalent of off-balance sheet exposure, whichever is higher. The higher value is always selected. So our answer is, we have already explained, for the agriculture sector, it is 18%. Coming to the next question, what is the loan amount in the education sector for studying abroad that is included in the priority sector by the Reserve Bank of India? Students, a very important question, because this has been recently in the news and I have seen this. So students, kindly note it down. So talking about the loans up to 10 lakhs to the individuals for education purposes, including the vocational courses, and for 20 lakhs for studying abroad, are identified under the priority sector by the Reserve Bank of India. So please note this cash limit: 20 for studying abroad, which is our answer, and 10 for within India. So these are the maximum amount of loan that's given. So coming to the question number 13. What is the loan amount in the housing loan segment for metropolitan cities that is considered under the priority sector by the RBI? So you can see here the options given. So hope you all know the answer. So students, I have to explain something. Housing loans are considered in the priority sector loans up to certain limit in India. For metropolitan cities, housing loans up to 35 lakhs are considered under the priority sector, whereas loans up to 25 lakhs are considered under the priority sectors in other areas. So for metropolitan cities it is 35, and for other areas it is 25 lakhs, okay, are considered under the priority sector in other areas of the country. This classification holds true for the regional rural banks and small finance banks as well. So one of the important question, kindly note it down. Coming to the next question. The asset size of a non-banking finance company should be dash or more in order for it to be identified as a systematically important NBFC. So they are asking the digits, how much crore. So it's going to be very important for you. So NBFCs in India provide most of the banking services without meeting the legal requirements of a banking company. So kindly note, students, such organizations are registered as per the provisions of the Companies Act 1956. Very important point. Kindly note it. NBFCs whose assets is rupees 500 crore and more are mainly identified as the systematically important NBFCs in the country. These companies can function as per the mandate given to them. So it's option D, 500 crore and above. So hope you are written down the important points. Either pause this video so you can write it down and then continue. Students, if you are a new member, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and enable the bell icon. Question number 15. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act was passed in the year 2002. So the other important point you have to study regarding this is money laundering is the process through which black money, that's what I have written BM here, is converted into white money, that is legitimate money. Such funds are used for various antisocial activities such as terrorism, etc. In order to prevent that, the PMLA Act was passed in the year 2002, and it has the authority to also seize property obtained from the illegal money. So students, please note this important point. The act also has the ability to seize property obtained from the illegal money. What is the timing of clearing of batches in the National Electronic Fund Transfer Mechanism? Question number 16. National Electronic Fund Transfer Mechanism. So what is the answer, students? The NEFT mechanism is used in order to transfer funds electronically from any bank branch to an individual or corporate, etc. There is no minimum and maximum. That is what an important point here. There is no maximum and minimum limit of transaction in the NEFT mechanism. It mainly operates in 23 batches of half-hourly settlements on all the working days of the week. That is from 8 to 7, 8 a.m. and ending at 7 p.m., which is the answer, option B. Coming to the next question, what is the maximum amount that can be transferred through the NEFT mechanism in case of Indo-Nepal remittance scheme? Students, this is very important, okay? Please kindly note it, Indo-Nepal remittance scheme. So let's get into that, some of the things regarding it. So this mechanism is used to transfer funds from one bank to other bank to any individual or corporate electronically. There is no maximum or minimum amount that can be translated through this mechanism. However, for cash-based remittance and the Indo-Nepal remittance scheme, the maximum amount that can be transferred is rupees 50,000 through the NEFT route. So which is option B, our answer. Hope you are clear with this. Coming to the next question, what is the daily cutoff time for customer transactions for the RTGS transactions for money transfer? So let's get into some of the points. Before that, students, the answer is till 6 p.m. Okay, the daily cutoff time. The real time gross settlement transactions are carried out in order to transfer funds on real time basis. The minimum amount that can be transferred through this mechanism is rupees 2 lakhs, whereas there is no maximum limit for RTGS fund transfer mechanism. The RBI has increased the daily cutoff time from RTGS for customers to 6 p.m. from June 1, 2019. This date is very important, students. Kindly note it. And the earlier cutoff time was 4:30 p.m. It has changed to 6 p.m. So this is very important, and we have already got the answer. It is till 6 p.m. Okay. So let's go to the next question. The additional fee that is levied on the RTGS transactions conducted in the third window of 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. above the processing charges. So students, let's get to the important point. The RTGS transaction takes place in 3 windows in a day: 8 to 11 a.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So the customers who conduct the transactions in the first window do not have to pay any additional fee, but in the second and third it is 2 and 5 respectively. So and 2 and 5 are levied above the normal processing fee. So hope you now have got the answer. So answer is option B, rupees 5. We have already explained that, and you have also got some additional points. So let's go to the next question. In the IFSC code, so students, please have all the details, collect all the details regarding the IFSC code. This is very important. In the IFSC code, which among the following denotes name of the bank concerned? I have seen this question repeatedly in several examination, mock test and all. IFSC stands for Indian Financial System Code. You have to know that definition first. It's a 11-digit alphanumeric code that identifies the bank branch participating in the NEFT and RTGS fund transfer mechanism. It is used to route the message to the correct bank branch in the electronic fund transfer mechanism. The first 4 characters indicates the name of the bank in the IFSC code, whereas the fifth character is 0 and the last 6 characters represent the concerned branch of the bank. Last 6 digits represents the concerned branch of the bank. Okay. So hope you are clear with this. So this is a very important question, students, regarding the IFSC code. IFSC stands for Indian Financial System Code. IFSC code. Okay, and these are the most important things regarding this IFSC code. Please try to collect some extra points regarding this IFSC code. So we have already got our answer, that is option B. First 4 characters represents the name, but so always try to collect some information regarding it. So coming to the next question, what is the maximum limit of daily transaction in case of interbank mobile payment service in the transactions are done in the encrypted format? Students, directly I am saying the answer is rupees 50,000. So let's go to some of the important points. The IMPS is a fund transfer mechanism between banks through the use of the mobile phone. A mobile money identifier is provided by the banks attached with the registered mobile number. The MMID is a 7-digit number issued by the bank. The maximum amount limit of transaction is rupees 50,000 in IMPS in case of encrypted format from net banking, which is a very important point, and rupees 1,000 for unencrypted format through mobile text messages. Hope you are clear with these points and are noting down. Students, please kindly note this. You will forget this if you are trying to get it afterwards. Coming to the next question. The Unified Payment Interface, UPI, has been developed by which among the following? The UPI is a product developed by the MPCI to ensure 24/7 money transfer mechanism for 365 days a year. So it is NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. Through this mechanism, you can transfer money 24/7 times for 365 days. So it's working every time. Through this mechanism, money can be transferred to another bank account instantly. It is similar to the NEFT and RTGS mechanism, apart from the fact that it is applicable throughout the year and round the clock. Okay. So hope you are noting down these important points. Coming to the next question. What is the maximum amount that can be transferred by a user in a day using the FIM application? So students, you want to know what is FIM application. FIM app is a mechanism through which funds can be transferred with the help of the mobile phone. A user can send up to rupees 40,000 in a single day using this application, whereas rupees 20,000 can be transferred at once using the app. It was launched in the year 2016, December 2016, it was launched and can be used at any place, anytime. There is no fee charged for such transfer in this application. So we have already explained, the answer is option A, rupees 40,000, the maximum amount. Coming to the next question. The National Financial Switch is associated with which among the following in India? So let's go to some of the important points. So before that I am saying the answer, it is option C, ATMs. The National Financial Switch is associated with which among the following in India? It is ATM. The NFS is the largest network of ATMs in India. Okay, it is developed in the year 2004. It was developed by the students, an important point. It was developed by the Institute of Development and Research in Banking Technology, which is headquartered at Hyderabad. The NFS is handled and administered by the National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI. So we hope you are clear with it. If you are not getting, please play back and watch it once more. Okay. Coming to the last section of this series, we will be continuing with the other one. Which among the following is correctly matched? You have to identify the correctly matched pair. So students, if you are getting questions like this, try to find out the real matching and the incorrect match, everything to be correct. So the only correct option is option C, that is Global Innovation Index, INSEAD. So these are some of the important things related with the particular question. Global Energy Architecture Performance Index report, which is published by World Economic Forum, WEF, includes the Growth and Development report by World Economic Forum, Global Innovation Index by INSEAD. Hope you all are happy with this session. So please make your opinions in the comment section, give this video a like and share this video with friends. Thank you.